welcome back. This is the IGR podcast. It gets real. This is your host, Jay Danzy. First, thank you, God. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for everything. I have to send the praises up so the blessings come down. I definitely want to give some shout outs. Vision Design, okay? We always want to get some momentum behind them, talk about what they're doing. Dante Amaral, you guys know, you guys have seen him talk on here a lot. Taylor Williams, Guhan. Guhan, he actually has an episode coming out. He's got some music coming out. I want to definitely push that. You guys will see that coming. Lawrence Law, he just put out some new music. That was phenomenal. Go check that out. Go follow him. Timmy Turner, I believe. If not, you'll definitely be able to find him based off that. But I'm sitting here in a beautiful home in beautiful Danbury, Connecticut, with a great guy, someone that I've known for quite a long time. I've seen him grow. I've connected on him with a lot of stuff. We used to, text back and forth, always staying in touch. Is Braxton Barker. Some of you may know him. Some of you may not. He's responsible for a couple great parties. Him and his brother Lloyd, respectively, did some stuff. But I want to jump right into it. Okay. So a little background about you. Grew up Danbury, Connecticut. Two parents. You come from a bit of money, a little bit different. You grew up a little different, to be honest. Your dad's a black exec, something that's, two claps and kudos for that. You grew up very different. And what I mean by that is you take the average, or you take a lot of the statistics you hear about, you know what I mean? Not having two parents, being in the lower middle class, all these type of different things. But here you are the anomaly, for lack of a better term. I mean, from at least my point of view, how was that growing up? How was it growing up with money, with access, with two parents? How did that really shape your worldview in a way?
Well, first and foremost, I want to say thank you, Jay, for having me on your show. I love your show. I've been watching it for the last couple episodes that you've been putting out, and I think it's excellent. Shout out to Chase Joseph, which was on a couple other shows. That's my boy. Keep doing what you're doing. But I want to say that to answer your question, I've grown up differently, and I've gotten different exposure from my parents and also the people that have been around me that are influenced by me as vice versa. And I want to say that I'm no different from any other man or any other person for that matter. The only difference is of what I've been exposed to,
Okay.
Money doesn't change you. It could change you, but don't ever get lost in the sauce. That's something that's always been something I hold truly to myself. But to answer your question, I definitely grown up in a different setting from most people, and a lot of people think that makes a person different, but it depends on the personality of the person as a whole. If you're gonna let shit change you, then you're gonna change. But if you want to become a humble, self-serving person, somebody that wants to be a humanitarian for the whole world and impact a lot more lives, such as Bill Gates and Elon Musk, which is more
aspirational figures.
Absolutely, it's more so the mindset that I'm going for than you're not somebody that is this rich person. You're more of somebody that wants to change the world.
Yeah. So going off that, when I talk about this evolution, right? Knowing you and being you in high school, and it was more so, you really didn't get known, quote unquote, until like the end of high school, literally, with those parties, with people knowing you more. I just want to tell a quick story. If you probably won't mind, but we walked into the school store.
Oh boy.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
We walked into the school store, and a senior was actually behind it. I was a sophomore at the time, and she's like, "Oh, who are you?" Like, she didn't know you, but she said something kind of insulting. Like, she thought you were, like, in a different grade or something like that.
Oh, really?
But you've been in school with this girl. I always remember this. You've been in school with this girl for 4 years. But then you flip that a couple months, and everyone's talking about, this party or this and that. So it's like, can you sort of tell me that evolution of, who's that 8th grade freshman Braxton? Who's that Braxton senior year? And then we're going to get into that, who's that Braxton now?
Yeah, well, firstly, I glue up a lot. I'd say glue, not fucking glow. Yeah, nah, the boy really got a beard.
Yeah, I'm saying he got swole.
A little bit more muscle, but more internally, I figured out what I needed to do as a person to make sure that I'm in the place I want to be. And that was not more so fitting in, but standing out. You know, a lot of people, when they're in high school, they want to be the person that is accepted, right? And want to be like, okay, I want to be like them because they're cool. Fuck the cool kids club. Like, that shit is whack. It's all about standing out nowadays. What makes you different? You know, you go into an interview at a job and they're saying, what makes you different from all the other people that I'm lined up interviewing, you know?
Yeah.
So I looked more focused on those aspects, and then I executed. And yeah, during high school, if it was throwing a party to make you different, that's what I did.
But this is stuff you do. Like, I'm not to cut you off, but I always highlight this stuff when I'm talking to other people, like people I met in school, where it's like, you have the power, anyone, when I mean you, to change perception, right? Reality is the perception that we have of it. So you are able, in a very cool way, I'd say, to change how people think of you in the instance of one night, 2 nights.
Absolutely.
Right? So the power of that, how does that translate into going into a new space, right? Now you're in college, right? Don't really know Braxton, throws a party, now he's known, oh my God, now he goes into a new space where no one knows what you are. No one knows what you've become. No one knows the evolution. Who are you in college?
Yeah, so firstly, to give you some background, I went to school, high school. I started off at Danbury High School, which was a school of like 3,400 students.
It's huge.
Right? My graduating class was 700 people, which is absurd to the people that I went to college with. I went to school in Maine, the University of Maine, and I'll tell you what, going from Connecticut, which has a larger percentage of all ethnicities.
They're very diverse.
Very diverse. Then going to Maine, which is 98.2, I think it's growing, or maybe going down, hopefully.
I think there's the least amount of color, people of color
98.2 percentage of Caucasians
Wow.
is incredibly different. Like, you're in a different atmosphere. When you show up, you know you stand out. And going into high school, I know. But going into high school and, you know, throwing out a party and getting known, that always fed my urge to stand out. Like, I want to be different. So in high school, sure, I was known. I went to a whole different state and I went to a different school. It was a new challenge. And that was to become me again. But now I could repurpose myself. Not as a fuck boy, right?
Not as an ego-driven guy who wants some sort of
clout chaser, right?
No, honestly, I think that's a really real
Right.
thing. I'm glad you said that. Because it's like, all right, you go through high school, don't really have anything. That ego, which is inside all of us, is like, I gotta do something to stand out. You know what I mean? I gotta do something to leave my impact on my class, my people, my friends, whatever.
Yeah.
Very real thing that happens. Now you go to Maine. Is your evolution now less egocentric and more, out to the world? Or what's your focus on rebuilding yourself, rebranding yourself in Maine?
Yeah, so my father wanted me to go to a HBCU school.
Did he really?
Just because
Never knew that.
Just because I'm an African American, and he wanted me to be accepted more and be able to engage with brothers and become a brother eventually. That fatherly dream of every African American dad, right? That is what was not my vision. It's more so of his vision. So me being my own individual, I went to Maine. They gave me the most money as far as my scholarship goes.
Go.
Take advantage of the money.
Don't be stupid. Yeah.
And get some decent exposure. How do people that are not like me think?
Oh.
How do I engage with them? And I'll tell you what, brother, they may be all white, but they love the brothers.
Okay.
I found myself more in tune with them because I was able to act and be my own. I was able to be Braxton in the room, more so of me going into Danbury and being.
So that environment was more accepting to who you naturally were.
Absolutely.
Okay. I'm gonna hold that point when you speak of the word brother, all right, I always talk about this with my friends. For me, it's like, what if you replace the word brother with what you really mean?
How to speak?
Black guy.
Okay.
How do you feel about the word brother?
I think brother is more accepting. Like, nobody wants to be called a black guy. Like, that's just, hey.
But it's like, why make the distinction, right? It's like my freshman year in college, I made a point of when you read something, people denote person of color or black woman or black person.
Yeah.
But when you read the person was walking down the street, for example, what do you think of?
The person was walking down the street. He's a person.
Well, I'm sorry. I take that back. The language was a bit different.
Yeah.
But saying when you just read like people on something, it's more so like this I wouldn't say white, but
Oh, you're asking me what do I perceive as the ethnicity of the person?
as just the baseline, right?
Yeah.
It's usually a white person. So I said that to say, when we have to denote or say like brother, like I don't know, like the word brother, kind of, I don't know if it bothers me or if it's like just replace what you really mean. Do you find no difference in it? Like I'm like some people are like, okay, cool, yeah, it's cool, bang, like you know what I am, cool. But for me, it's more of like, why gotta be that? Why can't I just be Jay?
It's not a terminology I use every day.
I don't know. Why not?
If you're bro, I'll call you bro. It doesn't matter what you are. You know, I hate that the fact that we put too much emphasis on who we actually are as far as race. It shouldn't be about that. If you're a person, you're a person. But me claiming you as a brother is, so to speak. You know what I mean? It's so to speak.
It's a real question because I was in this party down in Brooklyn. I forgot what part. Might have been by Williamsburg, wherever. But walking down the street, it's like 2 a.m. Coming from a party. Look down the street during the pandemic. There's a group of people, like probably like 75, 100 people dancing, whatever. I'm like, oh cool, I'm gonna go check that out. I get down there, meet some people, talking to this dude about sports, whatever. There's a group of us, and he was like, yo, what's up, my brother? Whatever. Cool. Drunk dude, really cool, whatever. I'm like, all right, what's up? I don't take offense, like my brother, whatever. You know, cool. I'm whatever. But then he kept saying it, and he kept saying it, and he kept saying it. And I'm like, okay. And then I was like, okay, let me mirror him. Let me say what he's saying to me.
What's up, brother?
Mid-conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Let me get this off. Mid-conversation. Yeah, because, brother, I didn't see that either. Asian guy. It messed his brain up.
Yeah.
Wait, what you mean? I ain't a brother. Wait, what do you mean you're not a brother? I thought, because I use brother.
Yeah.
Call everybody brother. But the brother add a little flavor to it. Oh, replace what you mean with what you're saying. You ain't a black guy. You don't want to be a black guy. This is why I ask, how do you feel about that word? Because, yeah, I don't think it should be, but it is what it is.
It is what it is, but
very nuanced.
It's something that I don't really focus on because it's not something that you should have to say in your terms. Like, if you're able to portray people as anything but what they might be portrayed as, then you should have no problem. But if those are the type of people that you have around, as far as them saying brother, that's not the type of person I would have around.
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know.
But
that was literally a side note, but I just wanted to make that point of this is something that I picked up on only in the last like 6 years. I'm like, yo, like this word. Like I see people who use it with everyone, right? My friend's dad, white guy, he used it with everyone.
What's up, brother?
Not brother, with literally everyone.
What's up, brother?
Cool. So my thing is just like, what's the perspective of people using that
But
word?
you can't subject that they're all using it the way that Asian guy did. You know?
I don't know that they are. This is what I'm saying.
You can't just say that, hey.
I'm not saying that. I don't know.
Right.
This is why I'm asking your perspective.
Just the same way with the M word. Not to say the word, but like I'm saying, you know that every person's not saying it the way that it was
we don't
intended
know
to
how
say,
they are. And
right?
that's where this sort of treading water comes. Where it's
this is my biggest issue with people that go to HBCU schools because they have this subject that it's they against us. And it's not like that, you know. As soon as you figure out, and this was my transformation in Maine, as soon as you figure out in this uncomfortable environment that we are people together, we're we're all human beings, and we can all interact with each other in different ways because we have different backgrounds, different cultures. That is the best we could be as a whole, and this country, this country needs it. Yeah.
They just stormed the Capitol building today.
Right,
so
right.
I think
Well, not to talk about politics, but
we definitely need it. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, I think it's just super interesting because being in those spaces perfectly myself. So, did you feel any sort of like tokenism in those spaces, specifically at Maine?
Tokenism, as in a black superpower.
But you could, yeah. I like to. I mean, it's analogous. I like to say it that way. But what I mean by that is, you're the black guy in the room. Everything you do is great. It doesn't matter. Every joke you tell is probably really funny.
Until I shoot a basketball, because I can't play ball.
You know what I mean? But think about that, right?
Yeah.
Is they, you know, like you said, like they didn't have anyone around them like that. So it's now that you come in, and even though in Danbury you're not the quote unquote blackest, in Maine you're, I mean, fucking elevated because you're the black.
Right.
And it's the black that they see.
So at almost every party, I'll ask the individual that I meet and have a decent conversation with. So how many black people have you encountered?
That's a question?
That's just me
asking.
asking.
A normal question for
Because
me.
I'm taking a statistic. I want to know. You know, am I different because you know that I'm different, or am I different because this is something new? Am I something new that you're trying to inspect? And I have no problem with that because I'm a person that is willing to dive down and give you what you want. But most individuals answered that they've seen 1 to 2 black people in their life, and that's just
in their life.
That's scary because now they're looking at you as a different being, like you're an alien, like you're something that is just fascinating. They hear rap music, they love the culture, they're embracing it in their ways through technology. But when it comes to overall sense of this person's real,
they don't even understand a black person's sensibilities.
Yeah.
Let alone the struggle, let alone the, you know what I mean, any pain or history or anything like that. That's wild.
Yeah. And taken in the sense that they haven't seen a black individual that has substantial amount of money, right, come from a house of wealth. That's rapper level. That's like Kanye West level. And they think that image, right? And they put you on that pedestal when...
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
When you really just want to be...
They're the anomaly.
You really just want to be an average individual. Because that's well, at least for me.
That's how it was for you.
That's how I wanted to be. And, I always surrounded myself with a crowd that looked at me that way. But
just normal.
And I'm glad I'm glad that I found people that saw me that way as an average individual, because that's how you should treat everyone. You shouldn't have any pedestal, whether you are a janitor or whether you are the president of a company. That's how I was raised, and that's how it should be, But that's just my perspective,
Well, I think that's interesting because when people talk about quote unquote being white or whatever, right? Or acting white, what I found is that what they're really alluding to is that they think of sophistication, whether it's speech, whether it's wearing a suit, how you walk, how you talk. This sort of like what would have been called a black bourgeoisie back in the 20s and the 40s, right?
Bourgeoisie.
Right? Something, they respected their education, they respected what they looked like, how they talk, how they spoke, right? Dignity. That's sort of looked at as trying to be white, not using ebonics. So do you sort of have any thoughts on that of like, hey, listen, like, you don't talk slang. You know what I mean? You were exposed to different things. You're raised a different way. Like, so what does it mean when people say like you trying to be white or something like that? Like,
so not to give you a history lesson, but my father was raised in South America in a country called Guyana, and this country, it's very third world country-ish, but it's not a third world country. It was a British colony. This was British Guyana, and he was taught how to be proper because his father, my grandfather, was a police commissioner of the country, and that's a big deal for to be a police commissioner of a whole country. He met the Queen of England, so
Your grandfather.
My grandfather met the Queen of England. So for him to come out and be a figure in the household, he taught his kids, my father, how to be proper, and he dealt with them in a way that has been passed down for generations. And now I have the ability to mimic my father and what my grandfather has instilled. And this is coming from a different country. So when they see me in America, right, and I'm 23 years old and I talk in a way that is different from most of my kind, they say, wow, this person is white. When in actuality, I'm a human being that had different exposure, different standards instilled in them that they will never understand. So it's good to be different. It's good to understand that them not understanding is the understanding rather than being the enemy in most situations and thinking that everybody is they and you are you.
Yeah, I want to get, I want to kind of go back to that since, this is the bulk of our conversation of this whole they versus them and HBCUs and why you didn't choose it. Diving a little deeper, do you think that, like, for example, like, I love Chase, and we had a great interview, and he brought something up, and he was like, a PWI, this term, PWI.
What is a PWI, by the way?
I didn't know.
Yeah.
And he said, a predominantly white institution.
Okay. That's exactly what I went to.
And I was like,
yeah.
Again, that's what I'm saying. I bring it up because you went to one. I'm just understanding and learning this language, like, what do you mean? But then look at his education experience, what I assume to be his education experience based on what he's told me, is it was complete opposite. HBCU, you're around black people. You're using terms like PWI, like, you know what I mean? Stuff that I didn't know that's how you characterize schools, but it sort of lets you know what the mentality may be.
I didn't know there was a word for it.
I
didn't know there's an acronym, let alone.
I didn't know.
But
that's what it is.
As far as me, I always kept it in my head that there are certain institutes that are majority of certain races, and I just saw no need in that. Like, I know what the corporate world is. I know what the actual power is, and it's more of the Caucasian at this high level, right? How can somebody achieve that high level? You need to learn from the high level, right? That's how you become a boss. And I went to this university to learn how
from high level white people?
No, I wouldn't say high level, but from, the children of white people. One of my friends, close friends, Dom Heritas, he worked in President Bush's compound, right? And he was sitting with Barbara, sat with George.
Wow.
And, we shared stories. He learned a little bit about me, but it's all about this connection. The more connections you make, when you guys go off in your separate paths, you'll be able to connect. You'll be able to tangle in and make more out of just a topic conversation, right? But that's a little bit about my background and my upbringings and how life transformed me. I'm trying to get into the next mode. I'm trying to trigger myself into another center that I can excel at, and that is impacting the whole world.
Okay.
I want to change it.
So we're talking about impact. We got about 5 minutes left.
Right.
For this part, I really want to get into it. Impacting the world. What do you really see shortly? What do you see like your impact being on the world in a couple sentences?
Giving exposure to the finer things is how I would put it briefly. But now we could break it into subgenres. The first thing I want to cover is wine. There is a world of wine that not even people of the highest know. They just know that an expensive bottle will give them a great night, and that is just not to tell. It's a part of class that I was taught as a child. I was always mentored by some sommeliers, which are wine experts, on what a bottle of wine is, the different aspects of what makes a good bottle of wine, and to tell the difference of what world it was. Because there's new world, there's old world. We'll get more into it. We have 5 minutes, but if you pay attention to my content and my channel, you could learn more about it. But I want to put the world onto the finer things so they have exposure. Because with exposure, you'll be able to transform, right? without Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will, growing up in Philadelphia,
He got opportunity.
He got opportunity. He got exposure from Uncle Phil, and without that, you can never grow. You know, and that's something I want to give to the world.
That's super interesting. And would it be, before we really we wrap this part up, would it be from, I'm not gonna say like a flexing perspective, because I feel like a lot of people try to do that, but it comes off more as like, all right, this is just what you do, this is your lifestyle. It becomes a lifestyle thing, is the word they use for it.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is it's more from like an educational perspective.
Absolutely.
This is what wine is. This is what, maybe finances, just for an example, whatever.
And Jay, the end goal is to turn this into a nonprofit so I can give back to the people that don't have access to these things. That is my end goal. Not to get rich off of it, because money is not what I want to get in the world. It's reward, which is helping other people become more.
Each one teach one, showing people the things that you were exposed to.
Exactly.
And educating them about it.
And if I can only change one, I've done my job. But I would love to change many.
Straight up.
Hey, man. Thank you for having me, bro.
That was a good one.
It's been a pleasure, right?